Well, good afternoon, everyone, or maybe good morning or good evening, depending where you're joining us from. Welcome here to the launch pad. You're joining us for a live firing of FSB 2, the support booster for Artemis. They are going to be testing a 5 segment SRB in Utah here today. We were supposed to go live about 10 minutes ago, then they had a delay for the firing, and we just heard again that it has been delayed again. And at this time, we do not have a new targeted T0. So we're kind of in a hold from it because they haven't started their feed. So we don't have a live view of the booster. Otherwise, I would be showing it to you. But if you are first time here, welcome. My name's Zach. I'm the founder and host here at the Launchpad and here at TLP. It's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow because we believe that space is better together. And we'll take this time to answer just a few of your questions live. You can let us know in the chat by tagging us at the Launchpad, and we will try to answer those live for you here today. While we also have some time for a break, make sure you head on over to our Twitter. Follow us there so you never miss space news as it happens. Also, join us over on our Discord. We're hanging out in our live comms. We got Sasquatch, we got Heather, and we got Black Widow hanging out in the chat here today. And also head on over to our shop to take a look and get your space gear on order in the next kind of week or so to make sure that you get your Artemis gear ahead of the Artemis 1 flight coming up in the end of August. Our team's been working pretty much nonstop since yesterday's announcement, making sure we got our whole team down in Florida, and we look forward to bringing you live coverage there for that. Heather, right on cue. Yes, we will be going down. I know for a fact I will be down there for about 10 days, so we'll bring you some coverage from Kennedy. We'll be there for the launch. We're NASA accredited for that, so I'm very excited and honored that we get to be at the historic NASA press site ahead of the Artemis 1 launch. An incredible place to get to watch us start our return to the moon. And then we'll also be looking at doing some other things throughout today, that time while we're down there. We're going to take you out on a boat to get you some live views of the pad, hopefully some interviews as well, and possibly even a TLP meetup. So make sure you have joined our Discord and our Twitter to stay tuned for those updates. Yeah, and if you guys have questions, you can send those to us in the chat. We'll work on answering those live while we wait for today's flight. But at this time, we're waiting for an update from NASA. At this time, they are in a hold, and we do not have a new T0. So stay with us right here on the Launchpad as we count down towards today's SRB test. And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. We've been in a bit of a delay here. Teams were working on the SRB test, had to have a delay in their test there, and then actually ran out of time in their FAA test window. So they had to call the FAA and get an extension. They have gotten that extension, and we just heard about a minute ago, we are at T-minus 14 minutes and counting for today's test. We expect to get live views at the T-minus 10-minute mark, so we should hopefully be just a couple minutes away from getting those live views from NASA of the test site. We're going to work on having a TLP rocket chaser on site for the next one of these tests. They don't happen too often, but we are going to work on that. Thanks to your guys' support for there. But if it's your first time here, welcome here to the launch pad here at TLP. It's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together, and we're glad to have you join us for our live coverage of today's Artemis SRB booster test. This booster is expected to be part of Artemis 2, but we'll wait and see if that happens. They are testing some new systems on the SRB as they work to upgrade the SRB technology from shuttle era to new technology to help them last longer and be more effective. So they're running a few tests here today in Utah. If you haven't yet, though, take a moment, engage that subscribe button. It really helps us out so you never miss another live launch coverage. Space news update, space briefing, or exclusive one-on-one interview. We got some of those coming your way in the next week with the countdown to Artemis, so make sure you stay tuned for those. If you haven't yet, also take a moment, share the broadcast. It really does help us out. We should be counting down at this point about T-minus 11 minutes or so and counting until the firing of today's SRB booster. If you guys have questions, you can send those to us in the chat. We'll work on answering those live. Just make sure you tag us at the launchpad in your comment. That flags it in our system so we're able to see that question come in. Also, if you haven't yet, take a moment, join us over on our Twitter so you never miss space news as it happens, and over on Discord. We got a bunch of people hanging out. We got Heather and Fate, Black Widow, and myself hanging out in live comms while we've been waiting for today's tests, and you're more than welcome to join us there. But if you're just joining us, we should be getting live views from NASA in just the next minute or two here for today's SRB fire test in Utah of a full 5-segment SRB booster, same as what we see on the SLS-1 rocket for Artemis 1 in Florida. We're going to get here for an update from NASA, but hopefully have live views shortly. Stay with us right here on the launch pad.
Data center UPS is online with 48 minutes of runtime.
T-minus 7 minutes. T-minus 6 minutes.
Central Support Systems operator, turn on the water boost pumps.
The water boost pumps are on.
Roger.
T-minus 5 minutes.
I'm Alyssa Lee, and you're joining us
T-97
live
test area
here at the
is
Northrop
clear
Grumman
for
facility in
static test.
Promontory, Utah. Teams at NASA's
High-speed
Kennedy Space
operators
Center in
verify
Florida are
systems.
preparing for the first Artemis launch. And we're here in Utah as teams evaluate materials and processes for future booster designs. We are moments away from a
All
hot fire
high-speed
test of
systems
a
are
Space
streaming.
Launch System booster motor for those future Artemis missions to the moon. Today's test is called Flight Support Booster 2. We did see a delay of this test today, but we are here and we are ready to fire up this booster. The booster motors for NASA's Space Launch System are the largest, most powerful ever built for flight. SLS has 2 solid rocket boosters that flank either side of the rocket. And for 2 minutes today, we're going to see the power of just one of those here in the Utah desert. If you're just now joining us, we're about 5 minutes away from the Flight Support Booster 2 test in Utah. The booster motor used for today's test is locked to the test stand just behind me.
T-minus 4
Be sure to
minutes.
follow us on social media at NASA
This is the
Space
test
Launch System on
conductor.
Facebook
Report system
and
status.
NASA SLS on Twitter.
Support
But no matter
systems
where you're
are go
watching,
for static
you can
test.
ask us your questions by using
Low
the
speed
hashtag
systems are go.
AskNASA.
High speed systems are
We're
go.
going to have some booster
PVT
experts
systems
join me
are
here
go.
after the test to answer
Motor
those
temperatures
questions.
are go.
And now I'd like to introduce
We are
you to a
go
special
for
guest with me
FSB2
today.
static test.
This is Reed Wiseman, NASA astronaut, engineer, aviator, and chief of the astronaut office. It's an honor to have you here today, Reed. Thank you for joining us.
You bet. It's great to be here.
Yeah. So we did see a delay today. Can you explain more about what that was about?
So what we were told is they were having trouble communicating with a few of the cameras that are up at the test facility there by the booster, but they're going to proceed without that data because it was not critical for the test. So we're back under the count and about 3 minutes away from lighting this thing.
Yeah, and we're excited to see it. I mean, it's going to be a great experience. I believe this is your first.
Is this your first test?
It is.
All right, so
mine.
both of us. This is
Yeah.
our first test. Yes, this is the first time I've been at one of these booster tests, and I just think it's absolutely awesome that we'll be launching Artemis 1 in just a few weeks on 2 of these boosters. So it's really neat to get to be here today.
Yeah, we're excited for launch. Now, can you tell me more about why testing like this is so important?
Because when we put humans on these things, we want to make sure they work. So they're testing a few critical systems on this booster today that's not related at all to Artemis 1, but is related to our future crewed Artemis flights.
Yeah, I think Artemis 3 and beyond is what we're testing for today. And so can you kind of tell me more about what we're expecting to see with this booster test?
About 2 minutes of a lot of heat and fire coming out the back of that motor. And I know about 4 seconds after it lights off, we should feel the pressure wave and hear the sound, much like we were watching a shuttle or an SLS launch at the Cape. I think it's going to be pretty awesome. I mean, the wind is coming down the hill kind of right at us, so it should be carrying the sound down this valley. You can see like literally 1,000 plus employees from Northrop Grumman out here to watch and NASA. So I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, and I think the cameras might even shake a little bit from this test. I mean, you got to think about, we're only getting a little taste of what we could see at launch. You know, this is only a single booster, and at launch we're going to have 2 of those, so it's going to be a great sight to see.
2, and then the 4 RS-25s on the bottom
yeah.
of the core stage going off, you know, about 6 seconds before the boosters light off. So it's just going to be absolutely amazing to watch what American ingenuity, what the American workforce can put together when we launch Artemis 1 here in a couple weeks. I can't wait to be there to watch it.
I absolutely agree. Well, thank you, Reed, for that great insight. Now remember, we're going to have some booster experts join me here after the test to answer your questions. Use that hashtag AskNASA on social media to send those to us. Now let's get ready to fire up this booster. You're going to hear a countdown from the test conductor, followed by a 2-minute booster firing. We're going to cut away, and we'll be back here after the test.
T-minus 70 seconds.
Commit the motor.
Motor is committed. T-minus 60 seconds.
All high-speed systems are recording.
T-minus 50 seconds.
TVC is go for static test.
T-minus 40 seconds. T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire. Plus 5. Plus 30 seconds.
Activate head end CO2.
Activated.
Activate quench tool forward command. Activates aft CO2.
Activated.
Ballistic script has ended. TVC power is disabled.
Plus 160 seconds. Plus 170 seconds. High-speed data operator, stop recording.
High-speed recording is complete.
Low-speed data operators, stop recording.
Low-speed data recording complete.
T plus 3 minutes, 30 seconds. Post-fire crew, report to the instrument room. Post-fire crew, report to the instrument room.
Welcome back, and wow, what an amazing sight to see. This powerful solid rocket booster fired up. Again, we're here at the Northrop Grumman facility in Promontory, Utah, where we just witnessed a 2-minute booster firing of a solid rocket booster for the SLS rocket. Here with me to talk about that test and to answer your questions, we have Julia Cotabande, motor team lead for SLS boosters at NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center, and we have Jessica Rose, chemical engineer for Northrop Grumman, for the SLS boosters as well. So before we begin, I just wanted to say, we heard the test conductor talking a little bit before the firing. Can you explain a little bit more about what they were saying? So I'll start with Julia.
Yeah, thanks, Alyssa. Wow, that was fantastic. So yeah, we heard the test conductor before the firing of the motor. She gave the go for test. The test counted down. They committed the motor. They armed the motor, and then at T0 we saw smoke and fire. We have out there today 5 segments of solid rocket motor. At the T0 mark, a signal was given from a ground controller to an igniter assembly, which in turn ignited the 5 segments. At the other end of the motor, we have a nozzle assembly which had a nozzle plug, and that would have come out as pressure built up inside the motor. We also have an aft skirt assembly, and it houses our advanced booster electronic thrust vector control system, and that vectored the nozzle during the test. A little bit later, you heard the test conductor call for the water deluge, which actually sprays water on the belly of the motor in order to cool the case. And we do that because we want to preserve and protect our hardware. And then a little bit later, we had the forward CO2 cooling and an aft boom swing around and send CO2 cooling into the aft end of the motor. So yeah, the motor burned for 126 seconds, which is how long it will power the Artemis rockets during liftoff and early flight. And it was a great test.
Well, thank you for that great detail, Julia. So Jessica, how did you feel? And can you tell us a little bit more about how we got to this moment?
Yes, absolutely. So, first of all, absolutely amazing. That is so bright. I was wondering if I'd be able to see after it. And I've seen many of these, and it's just so impressive every single time. And that's what all these employees out here that work at Northrop Grumman and NASA that are here that work on the Artemis segment are so thrilled for, to see that what we do daily impacts that success that you saw. And Alyssa, to answer your second question, here in Utah, we manufacture these boosters from the beginning to the end of them. We start with case prep. During case prep, they prep the case, and then they'll insulate the case, and then line it. Once the case is lined, it'll then go down to the casting pits. where they invert this horizontal segment into a vertical position, lower it down into this deep pit that fully covers the motor. And then after that, they start prepping it for what they call as a cast campaign. During the cast camp, they will lower the propellant into the motor at a continuous rate. And then once the motor is full with propellant, it'll cure for about 1 week. After that week, they'll condition and send it on down to X-ray. During X-ray, they will see if there are any voids in the propellant. If not, they will go down to the final assembly building where they finalize these motors. They will put an igniter in the forward segment and a nozzle into the aft segment. They will then either send them here to the test area for a static test or put them into a conditioned storage building for when Kennedy Space Center requests our Artemis segments down to them. So it's quite pride-filled that we get to take from the beginning to the end of these boosters.
Yeah.